Welcome back, folks. It's been a while. Sheepdog Smokey here, and even though I'm fighting my allergies, I did want to go on and make this. For those of you who follow me on TikTok and have kind of watched since the beginning with the exception of my history videos, you'll know that I've been feeling a conviction that I've not been the Christian and the witness that I'm supposed to be. And I feel in my gut that we are so very close to the end of days that I think we're all going to see it, or at least see the very beginning, because I've never hidden that I firmly believe that the church, the body of Christ, the body of believers on earth now that are still alive, will be taken away from all of this before it begins. My belief in that is because of two things. Well, three really. After the resurrection, Christ ascended, and the disciples were worried about what would happen with him. God, he said, if I leave another, I will send another in my place. That is the Holy Spirit. We have God the Father, God the Son, Christ, now embodied as fully man and fully God, and God the Spirit. So when Christ ascended, he said, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go, know that I will come again. He also said, if I leave, I will send another in my place. A very well-known passage. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Well, in the end days, God's Spirit, basically his restraint on the world through conviction, that's going to be removed, because the Antichrist will truly be Satan's puppet on earth, and eventually Satan himself, here to corrupt and kill as many as possible. He's a petty, vindictive little twit. He wants to ensure that he's not alone in hell. And his mantra is, if I have to go to hell, I'm dragging as many with me as I can, so they have to suffer less, like I do. And he's very angry that he's not able to do that to the entirety of the human race. So that last 7 years will be his last hurrah for a good long while. And during all of that, I don't believe that God's restraining hand will be removed from the earth without taking the church with him. During that 7 years, of course, we know that it is all a run-up to the Battle of Armageddon. And it is not actually said as Armageddon, it is the Battle of Har Megiddo. Megiddo is a plain in the Middle East. And two of the nations that are mentioned are Gog and Magog. And these are the nations that will be involved in this war. They're often pointed to as China and Russia, basically the two largest militaries, save the U.S., that will come against Israel. And we know that in this last 7 years, in the end days, it will be truly a one-world government, and it will be the planet versus Israel. And there's a lot that you can see that's leading up to that right now.
So Biden did an interview on ABC News, and when they asked him if he thought that Putin was a killer, he said yes. And what did Putin do? At first, he said he wishes the president was in good health. Then he is recalling his ambassador back to Moscow. Also, his spokesperson stated that Russia's response to Biden's remarks will be made perfectly clear. What do you think is going to happen? There's a war coming, and it will more than likely be on American soil. I don't want that. I didn't vote for that. I don't want a war. And as a patriot, I'm pissed. But also as a patriot, if I have to, I will hoist the colors.
I use that with permission of 9816 Nova on TikTok. I would highly recommend you go give that account a follow, because amazing content as well. But what we have, and if you watch from 2016 forward, the last year of Obama's presidency forward, Obama had previously in 2009 and in 2012, all of a sudden Hillary should never be president. Wasn't right. Pardon me. He made it clear that in his mind he was the only one qualified to be president. Until 2016, when he couldn't run again, all of a sudden Hillary was God's gift to the planet. And the DNC went out of their way with elected officials campaigning for Hillary Clinton. but it didn't work. Donald Trump still won. And they tried what they tried in 2000. But he didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the popular vote. It was her turn. She won the popular vote. That's not the way this republic works. We are not a democracy. We are a representative republic. Always have been. Now that they have managed to use a novel coronavirus, which has a 98% or higher survival rate with very little effect, unless you're treated where you're forced on a respirator or certain other things or whatever. They're using them. And they used it to lock a country down in an election year. To demand that restriction after restriction after restriction, which was there to prevent voter fraud, be lifted so that it would be less restrictive and painful to vote. Of course, we watched in Georgia as there was some reason for everyone to leave the room and all of a sudden Biden's count went up. I watched on 3rd November as on Fox News even, states that had 10% reporting were called for Biden. States with 95% reporting were not called for Trump. I watched as 10,000 votes taken for Trump, given to Biden on live TV. Watched the report live that at about 2 or so in the morning, a very nondescript truck with duffel bags full of ballots showed up, and over 100,000 ballots, none of them voting for anyone but president, no down ballot races voted, all of them for Biden. All of a sudden just tipped the scales in Michigan. Arizona, Georgia, and other states are now performing audits. And judges and other politicians are going insane trying to block it. The party of, we need another FBI investigation on top of the 12 that have already been done to make sure Brett Kavanaugh is qualified for this job. Doesn't want a single investigation done into the 2020 election. I wonder why. Because they have installed their puppet. As you saw in the video from 9816 Nova, Joe Biden was point blank asked if he thought Vladimir Putin was a killer, and he absolutely said yes. At first, Putin did the polite thing and wished him good health, but then removed his ambassador. There's only one reason to do that. You're cutting diplomatic ties with the country. And made it clear their response would be very clear. Joe Biden is an octogenarian who several years ago slipped into dementia. He is just very good at reading a script. He doesn't slip much, but when he does, it's obvious. I've seen video of him signing an executive order, not at the Resolute desk, at a tiny little table in an antechamber somewhere. And you can hear him say, I don't know what the hell I'm signing. You hear a voice off camera say, just sign it. At another press conference or event, he actually says, I wasn't supposed to do that. A virtual event, he says, I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do, Nance. And the feed is cut. For crying out loud, he can't even walk up the steps on the jetway to Air Force One. He's being used by people who actively seek and desire anarchy and worse. Because that's when they believe that they will win, because they believe they can simply say, we declare martial law, you will all submit right now. They actually think the military will obey them. And in most countries that's true, but in the U.S., where the military swears to the Constitution, not to Congress or the presidency, the vast majority will say, nope, you've just declared our oath is no longer valid. We're going to uphold it anyway. We're going to go stand with the people, not you. Yeah, sure, there are some thugs that didn't mean their oath when they swore it. And yeah, those very, very few will stand with the government. But it will be hell. It will be hell on earth. Because while numbers will be with the people, they may have a couple of people willing to fire hellfire strikes on small towns. And they are definitely the type of people who would set off a suitcase bomb in a large metropolitan city in a red state. It's going to get bad, people. But what I will tell you is watch the Middle East. It's all going to go down there. There is a prophecy in the Bible about Damascus being consumed in a light as like the sun, and the land being uninhabitable. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a nuclear strike. I'm a history major. I've said that since day one. I'm very proud of the fact that I finally grew up and in 2005 went back to college, turned to my 0.0, not no GPA. I actually had a legitimate zero because I went to college in 95, never went to class, and I failed out of everything. I turned my 0.00 into a 3.75. Took me 6 years, but I graduated with a degree that I absolutely love holding, and with a GPA my advisor said is extremely rare. I've watched the video from Bikini Atoll. I've watched the video from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I've watched the other videos of nuclear tests, and it is a light akin to the sun. There's a reason that they tell you, don't look at it. Not even through it. They don't give you welder's masks. I looked at the most recent eclipse through a welder's mask. Okay? That or the sunglasses that are just as dark are the only thing you can look at an eclipse through without burning your retinas. They don't even recommend using a welder's mask to look at a nuclear blast. They tell you don't look. Okay? That's a lot akin to the sun. And I know of no weapon on Earth that poisons the land such that it is uninhabitable, save fallout from nuclear strike. And it doesn't even have to be a tenth of what Fat Man or Little Boy was to take out just a city like Damascus. A suitcase bomb, which we know terrorists the world over use regularly. I guess what I'm saying is keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, head on a swivel, supplies ready, powder dry, all that stuff. Because we are headed for the most intense period of human history that has ever or will ever happen. And I'm even talking about at the end of the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ, when Lucifer is set free for one last hurrah before permanent incarceration in hell. This is going to be the defining 7 years, the defining period of human history. We're already seeing moves toward things that have been prophesied. The vaccine. It's not a vaccine. It is an RNA shot that resequences your body's code. We're already seeing people have experienced blood clots, seizures, infertility, and worse. Linking 2 documents in the description of this video from the former head of Pfizer, saying that those who took the Pfizer vaccine sadly don't have long to live. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an epidemiologist, I'm not a virologist. I don't know how to prove or disprove his claims. But the fact that this is so well hidden that it took forever for me to find it, and I had to get it from someone else. I'm not bragging when I say my Google foo is strong. The one thing that I was taught through all of my years at community college and university is how to research, how to phrase a search string to get the information I want. I couldn't find this. Depopulation is a big thing in the end days. 1/3 of the planet, in fact. The other is the mark. And I don't believe this so-called vaccine is the mark, because there's no mark on the back of the hand or on the head. But that's coming. And I don't believe these so-called COVID passports or vaccine passports are the mark, simply because there's not been a single person, elevated to ruler of the planet, who has decreed you'll take this or not be able to buy or sell. So far, it's just petty little wannabe tyrants in blue states, or petty little wannabe tyrants in D.C. who think that the other states will bow to them. And states like Florida, Texas, and the rest are telling them, no, we're still going to be ruled by the Constitution. But today is coming. All I would tell you is make sure you're ready. As always, let me know what you think. I want to thank 9860 Nova for letting me use their clip in this video. I will tell you, I have become very active on TikTok, and my account absolutely exploded. I joined in January. I'm not even a full 4 months from when I joined, and I went from 1 or 2 people here and there to well over 9,400. And who knows? I kind of hope Clapper does the same, because I'm telling people, my folks on TikTok, that I'm also going to be on Clapper. The only reason I'm still here is neither of those give the amount of time that YouTube does. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about over the next few weeks or months is going to take longer than just a minute or 2 or 3. So, that said, let me know what you think. As always, be civil. I'm not demanding you agree with me. I don't even demand you agree 1% with me. But you will be civil, or I will block you. Dissent, disagreement, and debate is where we learn from each other, because we learn from each other by expressing different viewpoints and by challenging each other to where we have to go back and do more research. I've learned more from debates I've lost than debates I've won. But they must be civil. Otherwise, we're acting like 2-year-olds being told ice cream is not good. And I just won't allow that. It's my channel. You're free to leave if you don't want to be civil. As always, please remember to like and share the video so we widen the conversation and let YouTube know that this is something you want to see, as well as make sure you're subscribed, notifications on. I'm actually stopping the history series for a little while, because while I do believe history is important, this is more so. I have several videos that have come from conversations I've had that I'm going to be producing over the next several days and weeks, so that they will be posting. I just can't tell you when. You'll want those notifications on so that you are notified when they come up. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.